Flox94110 says, I cut my entire social life out while I was with her. Ah, mistake. She broke up with me and now has abundant social life. We are both 23. She's definitely pursuing other guys. I have no interest in other women. Yes, you do. You're just pissed off. That's a lesson for you to learn. Do not build your life on your partner when you have not gotten to know each other so thoroughly and have made clear directions in as far as which direction this relationship is going, the level of commitments. And even after you have that kind of a commitment set and you guys are even, I don't know, got really serious, got married or lived together, still you have to have certain personal time for personal development, personal search and research, spend time with nature, with sports, things that makes you feel a wonderful exchange of energy in positive ways with things that you enjoy and you like. You cannot expect to be interested in the same things just because you like each other's face or you like each other's company or you're intimate with each other. That doesn't mean that everything about you is the same as her. She's her own person before she looks the way she does. And you're your own person before you look the way you do. Your characters and roles and behavior towards each other is different than how you're put together and what interests you have, an entirety of your inventory of interests. And just because you like each other, that doesn't mean that you guys have exact same interests. And you shouldn't. You're individuals. You have different interests and you should pay attention to your interests. Spend enough time with other friends of yours, you know, that have similar interests. I don't know, whatever it is, chess, tennis, soccer, sports, discussions, other intellectual interests or activities. Well, you have to engage in those to bring balance. Otherwise, you keep looking at each other all day long, lovey-dovey, oh, I love you, oh, I love you, oh, okay. Eventually, you start throwing up because there is nothing else to share if you don't share anything other than lovey-dovey, go shopping and just, you know, go hump and all that. And eventually, you want more because human being is not all about physical pleasure. There are interest in intellectual research and growth, in wisdom and analyzing life and understanding more about so many things that is there to learn. And if you don't bring that into your relationships, the relationship would only be a physical attachment, a physical interaction, which anything physical will be limited, will have its own duration, and eventually could become boring because there is no more elevation and growth in it. But when you combine it with your mental interactions, get to know each other on consciousness level, introduce interesting research and interesting discoveries and explorations, whether together or on your own self, your own time, individually, then that will bring a certain balance to that relationship, and the relationship would have lots of angles to it, rather than just, you know, looking, touching, eating, and then sleeping, sex, and then what? Very limited, very boring. You cannot build a life based on pleasure. You cannot live with just pleasure. Pleasure is part of the whole picture of life, the experience of life, to bring it spices and interest and more things that you would not necessarily have it all the time. But that kind of pleasure, the romantic pleasure, is not something that you can simply build a life on. It's not a foundation that you can think it will furnish and provide everything that you need. Pleasure is not intelligence. Pleasure is not smarts. Pleasure is not growth. Pleasure is just one moment of some extraordinary good feeling. whether it's, I don't know, a game you play, or is a food you eat after you finish you get rid of your hunger by that food. Anything after that is just a taste, and after a while, even that taste is no longer pleasure. So too much of anything, it becomes unbearable, even if it's pleasure. So there is a limit to everything, and remember, you cannot simply build life on pleasure and think that by pleasure of different kinds, whatever it may be, is it drinking, is it, I don't know, sex, is it just relationship, lovey-dovey, you cannot be smart. Pleasure doesn't make you smart. Through pleasure, you cannot attain all the other things that you want to learn and grow and develop. Pleasure is pleasure. It's not the path of life. It's part of the path. You will encounter pleasure on the path of life, but the art is how to turn that whole path into pleasure, not just seeking on that path the certain pleasures of sex or drinking or whatever it is that makes you feel, you know, whatever high, and thinking that that will bring you health or smarts or wisdom. They each like healthy pleasures. I'm not talking about drinking or drugs and stuff like that. Those are not pleasures. Those are just shit that gets you into you know, difficulty and challenges in health. But if you just balance good positive kinds of pleasure, whether it's intimacy, relationship, certain sports, whatever it is, in moderation, then you will have a balanced life. And on the path to experience this whole journey of life, you will have all kinds of wonderful feelings, wonderful encounters, because you have a balance. You have this, that, and so forth. It'll all be a perfect table for you to choose from, rather than thinking by just eating you will also build other segments of your life, or by just having sports you will also be, I don't know, educated in things that you're interested in. Everything in moderation, and create that empire that you want to create in a balanced way. So hope that will give you some idea on that question. So